Getting your character leveled and geared up after 50 is part of the endgame grind of Diablo 4. From all the many things you can do post-campaign, it can be a little overwhelming as to which are particularly the best per se. In this video today, I'm going to help you out by breaking out the big 5 endgame events that are crucial or at least a large part of the endgame process. I'll be breaking them into a tier list from S to C tier, as I don't think any one activity is particularly terrible to do. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I like to do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So the 2 S tier activities, and the ones that you should probably be doing, Nightmare Dungeons and Gathering Legions. The tier list is based off of time spent related to progression earned. So Gathering Legions you can complete in like 5 minutes and earn up to 3 resplendent chests. Nightmare Dungeons are quick and are necessary to level up your rare glyphs as well as push harder and harder content. Those are the big 2 that you were probably wondering were in the S tier slot. Conversely, you can find the entire list linked in the description if you'd like to just look at that instead. That's all we will be covering. So if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. I want to get you back and playing the game as fast as possible. And if you are heading out, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does truly help me out in a very, very huge way. Also, I have a massive playlist filled with all my guides and how-tos for Diablo 4 linked in the description as well as the end of this video if you need help with any subjects, such as the entire list of things you can do post-campaign. That is linked in the upper right hand corner right now. You can quickly navigate to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. Lastly, please don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I will be streaming Diablo 4 and where you can hit all those Diablo 4 Twitch drops with the new one starting on Monday. I'll be streaming at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come on over if you need help with the build or anything like that. But let's get started here on my endgame activities tier list for Diablo 4. The one thing I want to mention before we jump into the actual list is something you really should be doing outside of the tier list that we're going to talk about, right? We've got all these activities you want to hit, but you really want to make sure that you're pushing through your region progress. I clearly have a lot to do, but what you really want to get here is the Paragon points, because if you get all 5 of these done, that's 20 Paragon points. That's pretty crucial, and it should be something that you're just kind of constantly moving towards as you hit all of the subjects that we're about to talk about. So that's something I did want to bring up because it's not going to be on the list because I don't think I want to put it as its own separate thing to focus on. I think doing that is just going to be boring for you, and it's going to extract a lot of fun from the game if you're just simply running around and trying to do nothing but the region progress. But do try to at least get to this point for any kind of alts you're trying to make, and also make sure you get all of your altars of Lilith, because it's going to give you a substantial increase in all of your stats, as well as some Paragon points, some max obols, tons of benefits. So those are the big things I did want to point out before we jump into the list itself. So let's get started here on our first one. So one of the first ones I want to talk about, probably one of the first ones you also get introduced to, is the Tree of Whispers. Now, we all know how this works, right? And I've listed all the mechanics out in their own video, but you simply go ahead and do this, fill up your Grim Favors, and you get access to a cache. The problem I have here, if you were to exclusively do the Whispers of the Dead, is that it takes not a ton of time, but enough time that it's not necessarily worth the actual investiture, because you're not getting a ton of experience. You only get a normal cache with the random chance of getting a grand cache, and you have no idea. It's going to be, one of 3 caches that are going to cover any wide range of a group of items. So you could spend 10 minutes and do this pretty quickly, or you're probably going to get a dungeon wrapped into it, and it's going to take you probably 20-30 minutes in total to knock out every little, maybe like 15 minutes. 15 minutes I think is probably a good estimate of what one of these little pockets will do, 15 to 20, give or take. So you spend that amount of time and you don't really get much good gear. You have a chance of getting really good gear, and it's not that fun. But I want to say, though, that the Whispers of the Dead is not something you should do as a sole focus. It should be something that you're doing alongside all the other things that you're doing. If you're trying to push your region progression, do your Whispers of the Dead if they're in that location. If you're trying to knock out any of the events, like, oh, hey, you know what? You're waiting for a world boss to pop. Well, you got about 20-30 minutes. Might as well do a close Whispers of the Dead and get it knocked out, because remember, the actual world boss should give you, what, like 5 some odd Grim Favors. Get those things done with while you're working towards other things. And although it is at the C point on this list, it's kind of like the baseline, right? That's like the lowest average point of this list. it should be worth noting here that that's one thing that you should be doing alongside all of the other items. So did want to bring that up because I think it's really crucial that even though on its own it's not that great, but I think in conjunction with everything, it is quite good, especially if you're leveling up a brand new character. And our first S tier to talk about is the Gathering Legions. And this one's huge. It's probably, again, one of the ones you get exposed to very early once you hit level 50, but it does give you the chance to earn quite a bit, especially now because so many people are at that level of 50 plus, either in World Tier 2, 3, or 4, and they're starting to do these alongside you, so it pushes you through this quite quick. And if you've never done these before, of course, you're just going to pretty much go and do an event where you kill waves of monsters, fight a boss, waves of monsters, fight a boss, waves of monsters, fight a boss, and then you fight 3 bosses together. If you do this all within the time limit of each event, you get 3 resplendent chests. So it is a massive way to earn a considerable amount of items with a very minimal time investment. It's always really like 5 minutes, and depending on if you're playing on tier 3 or 4 and how many people are on and in there, it'll just go through in a blink of an eye, and you'll just get so many good items. So it's something that you should really always take advantage of anytime it's up, especially as I'll talk about in just a bit, if it's in a Helltide zone, because it will give a buff to the items that drop. So it's probably one of the best investments here because it's always quick. The only thing that is not great about it, and I guess it's the one thing that could possibly make this more of an A than an S tier, is that it is not on any kind of reliable timer. Same thing with the world bosses, right? We don't know actually the set specific timer. I believe it's something like a handful of hours for the world bosses, and the Gathering Legions are just a slightly smaller timer than that. So knocking these out whenever they're up is absolutely crucial. Just getting a quick surge of items that could possibly really help you out in your progression. So our third one on the list here, but our B, is the Helltide. Now Helltide is fun. You know, it's a whole hour long. You run through here, you get these cool little aberrant cinders, and you turn them in at their respective locations to earn the goodies, right? And you have to actually run into it, but you can see if I run over here, we'll get access to all of the maps all of the chests that we see on the map. The problem I have with the Helltide is that it takes a considerable amount of time to get a good baseline of the chest won't pop up. I guess I'll have to read more into it. It takes a considerable amount of time to get a good baseline of cinders going. You need 175 to unlock the Chest of Mysteries. And I'm going to show you a quick little way to get that Chest of Mysteries without dying while you're recording a video. To get that Chest of Mysteries easy. But those chests are strewn about the entire zone. And in the beginning, especially if you're brand new to level 50, this is going to be a huge time sink for you. And it's going to be a really hard challenge to run around to get to that Chest of Mysteries. You have to get 175 of those aberrant cinders. So it is a little bit of a wild card. But I will say that this gets better as you age. The higher your level, the more then you can drill down on specific pieces of your armor that you want to fill out. Especially if you're doing this on Torment, you're going to get access to have a really good chance to get access to good rolls on very high legendaries, possibly even a unique. So if you say want gloves, you could spend your entire hour here just simply grinding the aberrant cinders to go pop gloves. And you might be thinking, well, I've already opened up one of the chests. How can I do that? Every 15 minutes, all the chests in the zone recycle and move. So if you've popped open, just hypothetically, every single chest in the Helltide, every 15 minutes, all new chests are going to spawn in different locations. So that is the best advantage of the Helltide and how you should be using it to your best advantage. Try to focus down on specific items. And that's the only way you can really do it in the game, right? If you really want a specific item, short of actually gambling it with obols, this is the best way by just simply getting your cinders, finding the item, drilling down, and going. But the Chest of Mysteries is the best one, right? That's how you get all the goods. That's what people always try to go for. You always want to get 175 cinders, pop that bad boy, and then go for another one. So I'm going to show you how you can get that easily. You're going to head to helltides.com. That's easy. That's the link. I'm going to put it in the description for you, and you're going to select the location of the Helltide, and you can see that people have already voted that this is where the Wayfarers are in Wayfarer's Folly, where the mystery chest is. So you're going to run there and you're going to go pop it open. And that's that easy. It's a great way to find the chest. Otherwise, you won't find it on the map. You'll only find it on the mini map when you're in close proximity. So here's a little cool bit right here that'll say, the tortured, here I'll zoom in for those that are watching on mobile. Tortured Gifts of Mysteries are chests that spawn during Helltide events in Diablo 4. They cost 175 Aberrant Cinders to open and have a chance to drop between 2 to 5 legendary items, including Sacred Legendaries in World Tier 3 and Ancestral Legendaries in Tier 4. Unlike other Tortured Gifts chests, these chests do not show up on the map until you are near them. So it's a really great way to get good items, like I've said before, including Ancestral and Sacred Legendaries, and it's nice. And the cool thing too about Helltides is that Legion events and world bosses, which are other things on this list that we're going to talk about, can also spawn in these regions if you are so lucky. So if you're doing a Helltide, or if you're going to skip the Helltide, just look to see if a world boss or a Gathering Legions event happens, because you do get better benefits from doing it. So you might as well take advantage. But that is our Helltide. Let's move on to the next one. Our A tier item is the world boss. You should be knocking these out whenever they're up, especially if you've unlocked a higher difficulty than the one you're playing on. For example, I've unlocked Torment, but I really can't play on it. I'm just not strong enough yet. So I jump on to Torment to whenever there's a world boss, because it increases the likelihood of getting particularly good drops. Keep in mind, though, that the world boss will drop a grand cache, and if you're not the appropriate level, if you're not 80, then you can't open up the cache. But on the other difficulty of Nightmare, you'll just be fine. So doing these world bosses is a quick event. It at max can take 15 minutes because they are on a 15-minute timer. They shouldn't take anywhere near that anymore, because this is not the open beta with level 25 guys trying to do it. And you get a huge slew of weapons that'll drop, plus a cache, which is just a nice, really quick bump to your progression. Now, the reason it's on an A tier, not like on an S tier or something like that, like Gathering Legions, is that it is very infrequent that the world boss will spawn. I think in a given day, I maybe see 1 or 2 versus multiple Gathering Legions, which gives me plenty of opportunity to expand my repertoire with Legions over the world boss. And the world boss too, if you don't have a lot of people, it can be very frustrating if you miss it. It's the same thing too with Gathering Legions. If you miss it, can be a little frustrating, but at least with Gathering Legions, you'll at least get 1 Resplendent chest bare minimum. If you miss the world boss, if it somehow goes the whole 15 minutes, then you just get nothing. So there is that bit of like kind of a pitfall to it, but like I said, I don't think I've had it go anywhere near the 15-minute timer since the beta ended, but it's neither here nor there. So I wanted to at least put this on the list because it is a very important one nonetheless. Let's get started with our last one now. Nightmare Dungeons. They're probably the most crucial thing on this list because it's the only way you will be leveling up your glyphs, and this is how you will also get access to all the glyphs you maybe do not have. Your rare glyphs is what I'm talking about here. You want to get those things upgraded. It's the same thing as doing greater rifts and upgrading your jewels, your gems, right, from D3. And what that's really going to do for you is give you a ton more punching power. Also, you'll get the chance to get access to more sigils, Nightmare sigils, that will drop during these Nightmare dungeons, which you can then break down to make more sigils. So it's absolutely crucial to top tier end game, top content progression, blah, 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 blah. It's probably the most important thing on this list because it's the thing that's going to constantly test your build's viability. If you watched the Hoda build that we made, you probably saw Smog, who was on a level 74 character, punching up to things well over his level. He has a picture of him on 109. So it allows you to really fight much harder level mobs that are going to reward you with much, much better gear. So make sure you are doing your Nightmare dungeons. Progress it up to tier 3 so you get the access to breaking down and making your own sigils. So you're going to have a lot more fun with this process. But I promise it is going to be the one thing that is really going to progress you furthest in Diablo 4. And at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully this helps you out in getting an idea of at least a priority list in your brain as to how to approach these endgame activities in Diablo 4. Do any of them in whatever order you want. Focus on the side quests only if that's what you want to do. By all means, like I always say, play the game how you want. You spent your money to do it. Enjoy that process. You deserve to do it. So have fun with it. This, at least, like I said, just kind of gives you a rough blueprint of what is important and what maybe isn't, and it should help you in pushing through your progression for Diablo 4. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Please don't forget to check out the playlist of all the many guides that I have that can help you in all the stuff for Diablo 4. But have a good one and take care.